Briarwood Lane was the kind of street real estate agents loved to describe with words like quiet, safe, and ideal for families. Neatly trimmed hedges lined the sidewalks. Mailboxes stood upright like disciplined soldiers, and every house looked as though it had agreed to age gracefully together. The residents waved politely, brought casseroles when someone was sick, and complained about nothing more serious than recycling schedules. Maya Collins moved into number 14 on a rainy Thursday afternoon, the kind of rain that blurred the edges of things and made the world feel smaller. She had chosen Briarwood Lane precisely because it felt uneventful. After 12 years as a crime reporter in Chicago, she wanted boring. She wanted silence that didn't hum with sirens or echo with grief. Her neighbor at number 16 noticed her unloading boxes and crossed the lawn without hesitation. "New here?" he asked, smiling warmly. He was in his late 30s, maybe early 40s, tall with an athletic build that suggested regular morning jogs. His hair was neatly combed, his blue shirt pressed. "Just moved in," Maya said, wiping rain from her forehead. "I'm Maya. Ethan Parker," he replied, extending a hand. "Welcome to the neighborhood." His handshake was firm but not aggressive, his smile practiced but pleasant. He helped her carry boxes inside, pointing out which ones looked heavy, making small talk about the weather and trash pickup days. As he left, he gestured to the house across the street. "If you need anything, just knock. We're all pretty friendly around here." Maya smiled back, relieved. Maybe she had finally found a place where nothing terrible ever happened. She was wrong. 3 weeks later, the police cars came. Red and blue lights painted the quiet houses in violent colors as neighbors gathered in small clusters, whispering. Maya stood on her porch, coffee mug forgotten in her hand, watching officers cordon off number 22, 2 doors down from hers. A woman named Linda Harmon lived there. Middle-aged, divorced, worked as a dental hygienist. Maya knew because Linda had introduced herself at a neighborhood barbecue, proudly showing photos of her grandchildren. Linda Harmon was dead. The news came quickly, efficiently, found in her living room by her sister. Blunt force trauma. No sign of forced entry. Probably someone she knew, a neighbor murmured. Maya felt an old, unwelcome familiarity rise in her chest. She recognized the way people speculated, the way fear hid behind polite words. Ethan appeared beside her, hands in his pockets. "Terrible," he said softly. "Just terrible." "You didn't hear anything last night?" Maya asked. He shook his head. "Slept right through it." "Guess that's what makes it worse." She nodded, watching detectives move in and out of Linda's house. Something about the scene unsettled her. Not just the murder, but the absence of chaos. Everything was too neat. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. She stared at the ceiling, listening to the hum of her refrigerator, the distant bark of a dog. She told herself this wasn't her story anymore. But the story didn't care. The second murder happened 6 weeks later. Tom Wilkes, a retired electrician who lived at the end of the street, was found dead in his garage. Again, no forced entry. Again, blunt force trauma. Again, someone the neighborhood knew well enough to greet, but not well enough to truly understand. The police presence was heavier this time. Patrol cars lingered. Officers knocked on doors, asking questions. Maya answered honestly, professionally. She noticed how often the same details repeated themselves. Time of death late evening, victims alone. No valuables missing. At night, she pulled out an old notebook she hadn't touched in years and began writing. Victim profiles. Timelines. Habits. She hated herself a little for it. But she hated not knowing more. At the next community meeting, fear seeped through the polite smiles. Someone suggested installing more cameras. Another person mentioned a neighborhood watch. Ethan spoke calmly, reassuringly. "We can't let fear tear us apart. This is still a good place." People nodded, grateful for his confidence. Maya watched him carefully as he spoke. He was good with people. Too good. She shook the thought away. Suspicion was a disease she'd carried too long. When the third body was discovered, Briarwood Lane stopped pretending. Saranangayan, a young nurse who worked night shifts, was found dead in her kitchen. The same injuries, the same eerie lack of struggle. This time, Maya felt something cold settle in her stomach. 3 murders, in less than 3 months, all within 100 yards of each other. A serial killer didn't need to travel far. When the hunting ground was perfect, the police set up a temporary command center nearby. News vans arrived. Reporters speculated. Maya watched it all from behind her curtains, her past colliding violently with her present. That night, she heard a noise. A soft thud, then another. Her heart pounded as she moved toward the window overlooking Ethan's driveway. His garage light was on. He was dragging something heavy, too heavy, toward the trash bins. The shape was wrong. Awkward, he noticed her watching. Their eyes met. Ethan smiled and waved. Maya stepped back, breath shallow, telling herself there were explanations. Always explanations. Still, she wrote down the time. Maya started paying attention. Ethan's routines were flawless. Morning jogs at 6. Work by 8. Evenings spent reading on his porch or chatting with neighbors. He brought soup to an elderly couple during a cold snap. Helped fix a broken fence without being asked. He also had something else in common with every victim. He'd been one of the last people to speak with them. Linda Harmon had mentioned Ethan helping her with a leaky sink. Tom Wilkes had talked about borrowing tools from him. Saranangayan had waved to him the night she died, thanking him for taking in a package while she was at work. Maya's pulse quickened as she connected the dots. She called an old contact at the police department, careful with her words. "I think the killer lives here," she said. "And I think it's someone everyone trusts." The detective sighed. "We're looking at all possibilities, Maya. But suspicion isn't evidence." "I know," she replied. But I've seen this before." That night, Maya locked every door and window. Across the street, Ethan's lights went out at exactly 1100 p.m. Maya couldn't ignore it anymore. While Ethan was at work, she walked over under the pretense of returning a borrowed ladder. His front door was locked, but the side gate was ajar. Her heart hammered as she stepped into his backyard. She told herself she was being reckless. She told herself she'd stop if anything felt wrong. Everything felt wrong. The basement window was slightly open. She crouched, peering inside. What she saw made her stomach lurch. Plastic sheets, cleaning supplies, and a dark stain on the concrete floor that no amount of scrubbing could erase. She backed away, breath coming in short bursts. Behind her, a voice spoke calmly, looking for something. Ethan stood at the gate, his smile gone. "You shouldn't trespass," Ethan said, his tone almost gentle. Maya straightened, forcing herself to meet his gaze. "I was returning your ladder." "Through the backyard?" he asked. She didn't answer. For a moment, neither of them moved. The world seemed to hold its breath. Then Ethan sighed. "You know, I liked you. You reminded me of myself." Maya's skin prickled. "Off yourself?" Observant. Curious. Unsatisfied with the surface of things. He stepped closer. "They were all so careless. Letting me in. Trusting me? You killed them?" Maya said, her voice steady despite the terror clawing at her chest. Ethan nodded. "They never see it coming. That's the beauty of it." Maya's mind raced. Her phone was in her pocket, recording audio she hoped. She took a step back. "You won't get away with this," she said. Ethan smiled again, but this time it didn't reach his eyes. "I already have." Maya ran. She sprinted toward the street, screaming for help. Doors opened. Someone shouted. Ethan lunged. Grabbing her arm, she twisted free, adrenaline lending her strength she didn't know she had. Sirens wailed in the distance. Closer than before. Ethan's expression shifted, irritation replacing calm. You ruined everything. Police cars screeched to a halt as officers poured out, weapons drawn. Someone yelled. Ethan froze. Slowly, he raised his hands. Maya collapsed onto the sidewalk, shaking. As they cuffed him, Ethan looked at her one last time. Next door, he said softly. I was always next door. The truth spilled out quickly after his arrest. Ethan Parker wasn't even his real name. He'd moved through quiet neighborhoods for years, leaving bodies behind. Briarwood Lane was just the latest stop. The basement told the rest of the story. Maya gave her statement, her voice calm despite the storm inside her. That night, the street was silent again, but it was a different silence now. Heavy, bruised. She sat on her porch as dawn broke, the sky pale and forgiving. She had come here to escape stories like this. Instead, she had lived inside one. Months later, Briarwood Lane looked much the same. The houses stood. The hedges were trimmed. New families moved into old homes. But no one said it was safe anymore. Maya wrote the story herself this time, not as a reporter chasing headlines, but as a witness. She titled it The Killer Next Door, because the most terrifying monsters weren't hiding in the dark. They were smiling at you from across the lawn, holding the door open, waiting patiently for you to trust them.